Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I was planning on reviewing Renfield today, but I will actually be ranking the top times I've been right. And it was a lot harder to do this list because reviews are subjective. Nobody's right or wrong. What I mean by right is I thought something was going to be good or I thought something was going to be bad, and then my suspicions were confirmed sometimes in very painful circumstances, such as, Birds of Prey. I didn't put it on the list, but everyone knew that movie was going to be bad. It was an agenda movie from the get-go, unfortunately, and a lot of it had to do with Margot Robbie, and she wanted to insert all of her personal agendas. It was all about her, and that's kind of why the movie was terrible. It was like a bargain bin version of BMX Bandits, starring DC characters. And it was so bad that while I was watching it, there was an actual car crash that happened outside, live on commentary. I was like, why the fuck are these trucks like slowly driving around the curve? Why are there people walking around over there? Oh, it's because somebody crashed into a pole and they were hurt and injured and had a car crash. And it was just representative of how trash this movie was. So for real, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. This is a classic movie. It is a good movie. I mean, I think it's pretty good. Like, it's not bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just, I think people get a little carried away when they pretend like it's a masterpiece. I don't really find it that funny, and I think that they could have done a lot better. A lot of the movie is focused on these crappy characters who just kind of are there to bring the monsters together. You not Abbott and Costello, but you have this girl and the scientist, and they're working with Dracula, and it's just and it was so unfortunate because Safi, I crushed her spirit. She was really excited to watch this movie. She was like, yeah, it's the greatest movie. And then she watched it and she was like, oh. She was so upset and so disappointed that the movie was not as good as she remembered. And I thought, it's like she found out that Santa Claus doesn't exist anymore. But it's not a bad movie. Again, it's not a bad movie. It's just when you have Abbott and Costello meet the Invisible Man, I much prefer that. Or when you have meet Dr. Jekyll, I much prefer that one. I will say, though, that Meet the Mummy is the worst one. So that is a pretty bad movie. And it was painful watching it both times. So next up, Top Gun Maverick. Now, I never even saw the first one until last year. But I saw this trailer and I knew that it was going to be a great movie because there weren't any agendas, and I knew that it was at the very least going to be a very entertaining movie to watch in theaters. It's going to have some good action, and I don't think I talked about this on the Jones Awards video, but everyone wanted this movie to fail. Everyone was saying, ew, Top Gun 2, gross. They were saying, oh, Tom Cruise sucks, I don't want to support anything with Tom Cruise. And then they said, ooh, it's called Top Gun Maverick? I'm not supporting, ooh, that's a stupid title. and then it got delayed. And they said, ew, it got delayed. That means it's bad. And then, and then they said, it has Miles Teller in it. Ew, nobody likes Miles Teller. He's overrated. Nah. And then it got delayed again. Ugh, this movie's such a failure. Nobody's gonna like it. It's gonna suck. Just like your mom. And then it comes out. And everyone was like, it was so hilarious. Like, how could you not know that this was gonna be a good movie? Like, I didn't even have to watch the first one to know that it was gonna be good. It was so bad that by the time it came out, even I got a little bit nervous because I was like, oh, I don't want to watch like a bad Tom Cruise movie. I don't like watching Tom Cruise movies in general. But I knew it was going to be good. And what do you know? It was the best movie of the year. Everyone says it's good now. Like, if somebody says it's not good, it's usually just because they're trying to be edgy and popular. Next up is the Batman. Now this one's pretty hilarious, you know. I can't express how disappointed I was in Zack Snyder's DC FU, and I hated all of his movies, and I don't like him as a filmmaker at all. I think he's complete trash, but I was excited for one movie. I was excited for Ben Affleck's Batman movie. He was going to direct it. He was going to write it. He was going to star in it. He said it was going to be about him versus Deathstroke, and it was going to be like a back and forth game where Batman would always get into these traps, and it would be really intense, action-packed, and oh no, we can't get that movie. No, we can't do that. Because they got the guy who did arguably the best Planet of the Apes movie, and then a mediocre one in the third one in the series. And they got him to do the Batman, and at first I was kind of excited because I thought maybe he could use Ben Affleck's script and just cast another actor, since Ben Affleck, you know, he wasn't into it. He rage quit, you know, which I will say too, that was very unfortunate. He did this like gangster movie, and I just wasn't interested in it at all. It looked very cliche and boring. And I guess because people didn't support that movie, he didn't want to make Batman for some reason. But then what happened was even more disappointing, because this is how I knew the Batman was going to be trash. The guy who made Planet of the Apes movies, he read Ben Affleck's Batman script and he threw it in the trash. And he said, I don't like that script. There's too much action. There's too much stuff going on. And it's like, what the fuck? It's a superhero movie. It's Batman. You're supposed to have a lot of action. I mean, if you played Arkham Asylum for 20 hours straight, you'd be complaining that, you know, there was a lot of action too. Because you're just sitting there dying over and over again, fighting these bad guys, doing a couple other things once in a while. But to say a Batman story has too much action, that is some weak sauce shit. So then what I did was I waited and I thought, you know, maybe he could make a good movie. And then the ultimate bad casting decisions happened. I mean, he tokenized Jim Gordon, he tokenized Catwoman, and he got the worst possible actor to play Bruce Wayne Batman. He got Twilight Boy Robert Pattinson. I think that Robert Pattinson is an okay actor. he's like a C minus at best. Because he's just, even when actors are okay nowadays, people just elevate them to a status that they don't deserve. You know, they don't really let them earn their place like they used to have to do in the earlier days. Like nowadays, people just be in one movie and then automatically like, oh, that person is better than Orson Welles. That person is better than Jimmy Stewart because he was in that one movie. You know, guys, have you ever seen Good Time with Robert Pattinson? Have you ever seen The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson? It's like, yeah, I saw those movies. He was okay. The movies weren't very good. They were just okay. Like, but how does that make him a good fit for Batman? You know, he was Twilight Boy, and you can tell they're just going to make the Batman into Twilight Boy Batman. And people said, oh no, you just watch and wait. They're not going to make Twilight Boy Batman Twilight Boy. And then what happened? 3 tortuous hours watching this awful, awful, awful movie. It was a pain to get through this piece of shit, overrated movie, and at the top of the criticisms was Twilight Boy Batman. He was exactly like Twilight. He just sat around moping like a little emo bitch. He spent half the movie not even talking. It's oh god, oh, it's just the worst. And even though I was right, spending that 3 hours watching the Batman was not, it was still torturous. Like, even though I knew it was bad, it was still worse than bad. Next up is The New Mutants. This is another movie that pisses me off. You know, I'm always I get really upset when people, especially nowadays, these studios, they'll say something like, oh, we're going to make a Morbius movie. Oh, is it going to be rated R? Maybe. And then, like, 5 months before it comes out, oh, it's PG-13. And then, let's see, what else Venom. Venom was a movie I was so excited for, and then, what do you know? PG-13. And then the second one, about a serial killer, Carnage. Woody Harrelson, Natural Born Killers. That's got to be rated R, right? PG-13. And The New Mutants was the worst one, because they were like, this movie is going to be like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, but with super mutants. And I was like, wow, that sounds really good. Is it going to be rated R like Nightmare on Elm Street 3? No, PG-13. And it was a movie that was heavily promoted during the pandemic. You know, they were really trying to get people into theaters to watch these bad movies. And I feel bad for the people who did, because this is probably the worst or the second worst superhero movie I've ever seen in my entire life. I knew it was going to be bad from the moment that they rated it PG-13. And, ugh. I can't even express how bad this movie is. It makes me so mad. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Next up is Your Honor, Season 2. Now, Season 1, it started off really good, and then it got really bad. There were a couple of agenda points which were annoying, and the biggest problem with the show, though, well, 2 biggest problems. Number 1, the main kid in the show was very annoying and unlikable. And then number 2, there were so many plot conveniences. Like, the whole show was built around plot convenience to the point of where in the finale of the season you can just go, oh, this happened because this happened because this happened to happen because this happened to happen, and you can lay out this string of coincidences that just, they're so convenient, it's ridiculous. And I got all this pushback. I got like 40 or 50 dislikes on a review of the middle of the season because they didn't like that I criticized a fucking t-shirt, a fake show, a fake character, fake shirt for a fake show. Like, they got so upset, these people. And it's so funny because as soon as they found out, these people, as soon as they found out that Your Honor, and I say it like that because it was so bad that they were criticizing the way that I said the title of the show. So I'd say that I'm here to review Your Honor, Season 1, Episode 5. Apparently, like, that's bad. Like, I should say, Your Honor. Like, I like to just say Your Honor. Like, I don't really think about it like, oh, I have to say Your Honor. Like, I don't like doing that. I don't really care. But I just thought it was funny. But all these people, all these supposed fans who just pretended like the first season was amazing, was really good, obviously, because as Bryan Cranston is really good. All of them didn't even watch season 2 because they didn't come on into any of my videos to dislike the videos. And a lot of them, they complained that they even made a season 2 because they said that, oh, that's overstaying its welcome. You know, they have nothing else to do in the show, apparently, even though there were like 1,000 plot holes and 1,000 storylines that they could do and a whole universe that they set up, a whole list of characters that they set up. Oh no. They got nothing to do now. There's nothing left to do, apparently, in Your Honor, Season 2. And so I was one of the only people saying this is going to be really good. And for the most part, it was. There was an episode in the season, and it's one of the best TV episodes I've ever seen. And it's the best episode I've seen in years. And it was a 10 out of 10 incredible episode. There were lots of great moments, lots of great character development, and all I could think of was, I am so glad they made season 2, and they said, we're not going to limit ourselves and just stick with this one season, weak-need, modern TV attitude. We're going to make season 2, and we're going to expand this world. And overall, I'm really happy with the fact that they made that season 2. And that I knew if they make a season 2, it's going to work. Next up is Bumblebee. Now, this is a movie that I saw because I didn't really want to see it, but I was invited to a birthday party bash, and he chose for Bumblebee to be screened in the theater, and it was 2021. The movie came out in 2019, and it was already bad because the first 10 minutes, everyone says the first 10 minutes of Bumblebee is the best part of the movie. And I got to admit, I was excited for the movie at first. I thought it sounded really cool. I like Haley Steinfeld. I think she's a really good actress. But then I heard, that the first 10 minutes is good and the rest of the movie is just Iron Giant. And a lot of agenda shit and a lot of just bad storytelling. And what do you know? It was painful as hell. It was bad, just like I knew it was going to be bad. And, it was so bad that I was sitting next to Jackie Poo from Super Dumbass, and we were both laughing. We were both laughing at the movie. We were both, And then people would look over at us, even though it was a private screening, the people in his friends group, they would look over and be like, what are they laughing at? And it's like, it was just so bad, I couldn't resist. And I felt bad, though, because it could have been a great movie. It could have been. And I wish that I was able to stay away from it. It was a movie that I guess I just wasn't supposed to avoid. Like, I was eventually gonna watch it one way or another. Next up is Mortal Kombat Remake. This is another one where it was supposed to be rated R. They said it was going to be rated R, and then they rated it PG fucking 13. It was even more of a disgrace because they had that like overrated James Wan guy, modern horror guy. They had him be a part of making the movie, and he makes R-rated horror movies. So I don't know why this movie wasn't rated R. And nobody even talks about this movie anymore. Like, everyone's going to be talking about Super Mario Bros., Sonic, Clue. Those are good game movies. Nobody's going to ever be talking about this piece of crap Mortal Kombat movie. It was awful, and it was so much worse than I expected, and it was very disappointing and upsetting, this movie. Like, it was like, why? Like, why did you do this? Like, why did you center this movie around this stupid character that you created? This boring guy who he's the worst actor in the movie. His whole power is that his body is a human shield. Why would you do that? The original Mortal Kombat's so much better, even though that's a bad movie too. But I knew as soon as it was PG-13 time, I knew it was going to be bad movie time. Unfortunately. And then next up is Loki Season 1. Now, this is a show that I was so excited for. And I will tell you guys, as I will stick with this until the end of time. In Avengers Endgame, there's a point in the movie where Loki steals the Tesseract, or he steals the Tesseract with an Infinity Stone inside it, and he breaks free, and it's after they've already caught him in the original Avengers movie, and it was so epic to me, because I thought, oh shit, this is going to be the part where time traveling has consequences. This is going to be the part where Loki becomes the surprise villain of Avengers Endgame. And Thanos, he's going to still be around, and he's going to be a bigger threat for another movie in the future. And it's going to be like, oh shit, like Loki stole the show. And I was like, why didn't that happen? Why? That is exactly what should have happened. It would have been so epic. It would have been so tragic for everything to come full circle. Thor, he's got to kill his brother a second time. He's got to defeat him a second time. He's got to die a second time. He's got to get the Tesseract back, fix time travel problems. It would have been so much more fitting instead of that lame fan service, Thanos, lame, And I will admit, like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but seriously, Loki should have been the villain of Avengers Endgame. It would have been such a great twist to see Loki from the Avengers movie be like Loki from the Avengers movie a second time. It would have been so epic. It would have been so brutal. I mean, just imagine Loki doing the type of stuff that Thanos did in Infinity War. Like, just imagine Loki wielding an Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah, but I don't know. That's Avengers Endgame territory. That movie has a lot of problems in terms of like disappointment, in terms of what could have been, because they took Infinity War, the comic book, and they said F you. But Loki season 1, I thought this could be really good because we're finally going to get to see what happens to Loki. You know, that they created a plot hole on purpose so he could get a TV show. And the first 2 episodes were mediocre. There was a lot of agenda crap, and I wasn't feeling it very much, especially when they revealed that there was this other variant Loki, and it was a girl Loki, and I knew as soon as they did that this character is going to upstage him, and she's going to be made to look better than him in every way, and he's going to be treated like an idiot, like he already has been, and I knew exactly how it was going to go, and so I quit. I'm like, I'm not watching any more of this show. And what do you know? I watched the episode breakdowns for every episode on Mueller, the channel Mueller, aka Mahler. I watched on other channels that you'd see these criticisms of these shows. And all of my suspicions were confirmed. I was like, I am so glad I stopped watching. And I did a video where I talked about how glad I was, and all these people criticized, and they said, why don't you keep watching? Keep watching. It's really good. It's going to be really good. I was like, no thanks. Next up is Minamata. Now, Johnny Depp, before everyone defended him, everyone called him trash, and everyone just automatically sided with Amber Turd. And everyone was saying he's a terrible actor now. All he does is put on a disguise and do a funny voice and do a movie. And when they showed Minamata, the poster and everything, everyone complained. And everyone said, oh no, this is embarrassing. He looks terrible. It's going to be a terrible movie. I was the only one who was maintaining this is going to be a great movie. It sounds like a really interesting, true story. It sounds like something that I would love to watch. And I watched it, and it was so funny because YouTube, they exposed how much censorship pieces of shit they are, and how much they suppress the content on my channel, because the review that I did, it only got 3 views for months and months. And I reviewed this movie like a week after it came out, guys. It should have gotten a lot more than 3 views. And I knew, because it's a Johnny Depp movie, they are suppressing this review to make sure that people don't know about his movies, they don't support him. And I was like, what the hell? Like, this is a very important issue about mercury contamination. This company in Japan or whatever, they were dumping chemicals into water, poisoning all the village people. I knew it was a very important movie, a very good movie, and I loved it. I thought it was a great time. Next up is Puppet Master, the Axis Trilogy. This is something where the Puppet Master series, it took a turn for the worst. You know, the first 3 movies are basically flawless. They are flawless horror movies, very good for being low budget. But then part 4 and 5 happened, and I don't think that they got the response that they were looking for. So then they did this disastrous part 6, and the series just spiraled into shitstorm sandwich territory. And oh yeah, I just thought of another one I'll add really quick. There's probably a lot more in terms of like old movies and everything, but I don't want to do like a 10-hour video. I'll just add another one for the road. So The series started off in modern time. It was a very dark, creepy movie. The music was incredible. The second one was also in modern time, and it was creepy, it was dark, it was a great horror movie, scary horror movie. The third one was a prequel that took place in World War II, and it was very, very good. And I think that influenced them too much, because now, with Puppet Master series, they just will not get out of World War II. You know, everything has to be about World War II. World War II. They just won't make, well, they just did make one, but for the longest time, they just wouldn't make a Puppet Master movie that didn't take place in World War II. And I knew that this Axis trilogy, it sounded like a piece of shit. And I did not want to watch it, you know, even though it would have probably been good to support the series. I did not want to see this crap. And what do you know? Everyone confirmed my suspicions. And then we watched this trilogy, and it's probably... it's one of the worst commentary experiences I've ever had. We had this gross Cheetos macaroni. Ugh, just thinking about it makes me sick. And the movies were terrible. I mean, they were just bottom of the barrel, mediocre, terrible characters, terrible story. It looked like it was made by a high school theater group, and it was exactly as bad as I knew it was going to be, unfortunately. Next up is the X-Files. This is another one that I think Safi was really disappointed. So, I always did not like... I did not like this movie as a kid. I mean, this show. Sorry, I just saw a movie pop up, a video talking about a movie. And I didn't like how cold the X-Files is. You know, it's a very cold show. Like, everything looks cold and dark, and the characters are all really cold and dark, and the stories are cold and dark. It didn't really have a lot of life to me as a show. Like something that I want to watch for 10 seasons. But then I watched it and I was like, wow, I'm kind of wrong a little bit. But then I started seeing the bad stuff. I started seeing the first season or so, they could not find their footing. Mulder sucked. He couldn't fight at all. Scully was annoying because she didn't believe anything. And then in the third season, they hit their groove, and I was really worried because it got really good. But then the fourth season happened, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And it seemed like the person who made the show, Chris Cop-Out Carter, he deliberately, like, destroyed the show at certain points. And I was like, you know, Safi, she never wants to watch the X-Files again. After rewatching, like, this whole series, she never even just wants to watch the good episodes again because of how badly Chris Cop-Out Carter sabotaged his own show. And I knew that it was going to be bad, though. I knew that eventually all the flaws were going to come out. And I will say, though, like, I could watch a lot of X-Files episodes again. I wouldn't be opposed to doing that, but not anytime soon. Next up is American Horror Story Season 10. Now, this was a show that I had never seen the past 9 seasons of the show, but I thought it would probably be good to review this trendy show, get more views on the channel, get more subscribers, and it started off really good. It was like this cool, creative vampire story, and I really liked it a lot. But then, in episode 3, there was the arrival of this character who just completely destroyed the show. and she was this annoying, irritating, meta humor character. And the story was only 6 episodes, so we're already halfway through, and we know it's gonna be terrible. And she did not fit with the tone of the story, and so she completely took away from the whole show. The show had a bunch of agendas. It had all these problems. It had all these things happen that I knew it was going to lead to something bad. And nobody believed me. Everyone complained. I got all these dislikes. I got all these comments telling me I was wrong. And then what do you know? The finale came out, and the finale was like only 30 minutes long. It was an embarrassment to TV finales. And it was the worst thing in human history. And even people who like the show, they cannot defend that episode. And a lot of people were disappointed. And it's so funny because I think there's an ant. All these people complained about things that I knew were going to happen. They complained about all these issues that I was going to see coming. Like there was this one thing where in episode 2 or 3, the sheriff of the town, the only police person in town, she gets killed. And nobody investigates it until the last episode. And in the last episode, they just kind of drop it. It's just kind of like a thrown away thing. And I knew that was going to happen. I knew that, these writers do not know what they're doing. And it was unfortunate, but it was a disaster. And then the second half of the season... Okay, so next up is... Next up is Uncharted. Everyone and their brother and their mother and their sister and their cousin and their uncle and their aunt and their ex-girlfriend and their side chick, everyone knew this movie was going to be a piece of shit when they said, you know who's going to play Nathan Drake? Tom Holland, young Iron Boy Jr. He is going to be playing Nathan Drake. I mean, everyone was flabbergasted. Everyone was like, fuck you, this is complete trash. And what do you know? It was so bad. Everything in the whole movie was bad. It was a joke of a movie. It was really bad. And it's known as like one of the worst video game adaptations of all time. Because it was like they took the video game and they said F you, fans of the video game, F you. You don't do that. When you adapt something, whether it's a comic book or anything, you don't say F you to the fans. That's not going to lead to good things. Especially for me. Next up is MasterChef Back to Win. Now, after MasterChef Junior, where they purposefully... and I'm not trying to be mean, but they purposefully gave this Asian girl a free ride to the finale, and, they would constantly criticize people for playing it safe, staying in their comfort zone, and she was the queen of doing that, and I knew they're trying to fulfill an agenda, and they're just trying to have, like, an Asian girl win, and that's what happened. And then I knew, they're going to do the same thing in the regular MasterChef too, aren't they? And what do you know? They had this MasterChef Junior Season 1 contestant come back, and she seems like a nice person, but she's another person who just plays it safe, cooks the same food over and over again, and she would get flustered really easily. She could not handle it, and she was definitely not top 5 material. at all. And she'd make all these mistakes, and then other chefs would get sent home, and I knew what they were doing. I knew that they had this other character. He was like Alexander from MasterChef Junior Season 1, and so I knew what they wanted to do was have a person who's like Alexander, who faced off against her in the first season of MasterChef Junior. I knew that they wanted to have a rematch type of thing, where it would be like the original show, but then they give her the win because, you know. And that's exactly what they did. It was so bad. It was so, it was very predictable, and it was so sad because there was this other guy, and he was the third person, and I really think he did the best job. And they did not give him the award because they just had to do a double this year. And I knew it was all contrived. It was all contrived to get to this point. Next up is The Biggest Loser reboot. I was one of the people who watched The Biggest Loser show when it was on TV. I thought it was a very funny show. It wasn't very helpful at all in terms of weight loss advice, but it was very hilarious. There were so many funny moments, like right off the top of my head, there's this one moment where there's this there's this girl, and she won the option to get sent home for a week with the trainer for the team. And so the trainer for the team, he would have to go home with whoever won this trivia challenge. And she got really excited and really happy that she'd get to go to Texas where she lived, her home. And this trainer, he got so mad. He got so mad he threw a temper tantrum, and he said, "It's not going to be a vacation with me around, biatch." And they went to her hometown and everything, and it was just so funny because she never really acted like it was going to be a vacation. Like, he just assumed that she thought she was getting like a free ride or something. And like, there's moments like that were just really hilarious, just really bad reality TV crap. And I knew, like, why would they bring back this show? It's a terrible idea. The contestants, they gained the weight back a lot of the time. Their metabolism was destroyed by doing the show. It was a very unhealthy show. And they got injured a lot, too. They did a lot of stupid stuff. And the reboot was almost just as bad, if not even worse, than the original show. You know, they just did the same stuff. They repeated all the same mistakes. And when the show came out, everyone said the same thing. They said, you know, why are they doing this? Why would they do this crap? And it was a terrible show, but I will say it is one of the best things we've ever reviewed on our channel because it was so bad and so hilarious. Next up is Saints Row, the video game reboot. This is one where everyone kind of knew it was going to be bad. They saw the writing on the wall. They talked about, we need to update this game franchise for quote-unquote modern audiences, and we need to make it set in like a really diverse location and have a politically correct story. And it was just terrible. Like, it was everything you thought it was going to be. I mean, right down to the character presets. You go to the character creation presets, all of them are obese to start off, and stuff like that. You know, it's like, what were they thinking making this game? Like, this is just really bad. And even if you take away all the political agendas in this game, It is a very mediocre game. There are tons and tons of glitches and parts where it was very frustrating. Like, there was this one boss battle where I would save game and then I'd have to replay it over and over again because it is a game that won't let you save the game at certain points. And it was a very frustrating and bad experience. So lastly is a movie called Books of Blood by Clive Barker. The original movie I saw in 2020, and I will say it is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It was so bad. It was so terrible. And as soon as they announced that they were going to make another one, I was like, why? You're not going to make anything better than that one. And I was right. I mean, it was just as bad, if not even worse. As I said in my review, the original movie is a shit sandwich, and the remake is a shit shake, a shit milkshake. And so you have one shitty meal. Books of Blood and Book of Blood. Both terrible, both not worth your time, both stories mediocre. Books of Blood had 3 stories and all of them sucked. The only thing good about Books of Blood was that it was there was an actress from this movie I saw as a kid called The Ghost Club, and it was cool seeing her grown up in a movie because I thought she's pretty good, I guess. Other than that, it was a disaster. So anyways, please like this video, comment, tell me if you agree with any of my opinions, or which one do you think I was the most right, like I was the most 100% accurate on. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest videos like this. Goodbye everybody, see you soon.